sometimes all you need is just a really good, baggy, flowy linen shirt to complete a look. That's the case for my Hobbit Girl look. I wanted just a fun, feminine-inspired Hobbit look, and I've made all sorts of parts to go into that. And today we're talking about the yellow blouse shirt. It's using a historical method and pattern of creating the sleeves with little square sleeve gussets. It is a traditionally men's shirt pattern, but that works perfect for the overall inspiration for this Hobbit look. And I wanted to bring in the yellow, bright color that the Hobbit mentions, and I decided to put a twist on it and dye it myself with turmeric. The process for dyeing is fairly simple compared to most dyeing processes. Just boil some water and powdered turmeric, and then you add in the fabric and let it boil for a bit, and finish it off with some vinegar to set the color. And voila, that's the finished color. It is such a gorgeous yellow, just perfect. Now to cut out all the pieces, all pretty much rectangles and squares. Now it's been a while since I created the placket for the opening, so I pulled up some refresher blog posts, which I'll link down below. But also in the making of this shirt, I didn't really film the process very clearly, so here's a little tutorial. So we have our placket piece, and then this is my fill-in shirt piece. And so we have where the center front would be. So we want that center front. And then on here, there's a marked sewing line. And we're gonna put the center front right in the center of that sewing line and sew around that. And now we're gonna slice down that center, stopping a 1/2 inch from the bottom, and then snipping into the corners, but not snipping the sewing line. And now that allows us to turn this all to the right side. What we now have is basically a bound opening, and now it's going to be filled in with an underlap and the overlap. So for the underlap, we want the seam allowances pressed in. And while we're at it, we can just iron that part flat. And so now we're gonna fold this back like this, and this underlap is filling in that gap. So I'm just going to where it matches up at the edge there, and then making it even. We can check from this side to make sure the underlap is looking even and get that ironed in place. And now from here, we're gonna tuck in this extra seam allowance. Iron it, and now you would sew along this line to secure that in place. And now for the overlap part, we also want the seam allowance ironed in towards the placket. And then same basic idea of folding this, but this one's just going to be slightly larger to help cover up that full edge. And then again, turn under that seam allowance, making it just beyond the sewing line so that sewing line gets hidden. Now before we sew that edge down, we want to deal with this part, which is part of the placket that hides all of these seam allowances. So you want to make sure it's laying flat, and then here you can just turn under the edge and get a square ending of your placket, or you can add a point to it, which we'll do here. So to add a point, first fold in the edge. This can also be done before you attach the placket, but it can be kind of hard to tell what's going on. But to create a point, then you just fold in the points like that. Now that we have my folded point right there, we can re-iron that seam allowance in place and get it turned over. And now I'm going to sew along this entire edge, down across the point, and then back up, stopping just at the opening of the placket. So I'm gonna sew here, down, down, up to about here, and then I'm gonna sew over like that. There's the basics of creating a placket. Once you figure out what the fabric is doing to go into that placket, it actually can be quite simple to insert this on anything that you want an opening on, including a sleeve cuff, and then also even you could do it on a skirt or pant opening. Really, the possibilities are endless once you figure out a placket. With the placket complete, it's on to assembling the shirt. The front body piece is attached to the back piece at the shoulders. I made the front slightly larger so I could create some tucks along this seam. Once sewn in place, the seam is serged. Now for the sleeves. First, a square piece called a sleeve gusset is attached. One side of the square is sewn to the sleeve, and the sleeve is folded in half, and that edge is sewn to the second joining edge of the square. After that square edge, the seam continues down between the two edges of the sleeves, stopping a few inches from the cuff to allow for a cuff vent. That explanation was probably a little complicated, so here's what the finished sleeve gusset section looks like. Before attaching the sleeve, I finished the cuff vent with a small rolled hem, then gathered the cuff edge to fit my wrist and attached a simple cuff band. While I was working on bands, I also attached a narrow band at the neckline to finish up that collar edge. Now it's time to attach the sleeves. First, the shirt is laid out, the side seams together. These two edges are pinned together almost up to where the sleeve will start. Here's when I realized I wanted to gather the top of the sleeve slightly before inserting. Once that was done, the sleeve can be attached. The top of the shirt is marked, so the exact half of the full body, and the top of the sleeve is aligned to that. The sleeve is then pinned to the shirt all the way around from the point of the gusset to the other side. To get a smooth seam at this point of the gusset, you start at the point, go all the way around the sleeve, and when you get close to the point again, unpin that area and push the previous seam allowances down smoothly. Place a pin between the gusset and the shirt, and then push the seam allowances up and pin the two shirt sides together, just at the end of the sleeve gusset. Now push the seam allowances down again, and now we can finish sewing the armhole seam, sewing just up to the point of the gusset. From here, the seam is ended. Now the seam allowances are pushed up and out of the way, and the seam is started between the two shirt sides, with the gusset completely out of the way now. The final step is to hem the edge with a basic rolled hem. Well, there are buttons attached and buttonholes made, but I forgot to film them. The pattern for the shirt and the rest of the Hobbit outfit are available on my shop, and they are available in sizes extra extra small through 3XL. The link's down below and they're tagged in the product section. There you have it, another piece down for this Hobbit Girl look, and the final piece to talk about is the green waistcoat vest with welt pockets, because of course I needed a pocket to slip the one ring into. Stay tuned for that next video, and you can watch the videos about all the other parts of this look in previous videos. Thanks for watching, and as always, a huge thank you to my patrons and YouTube members. And now go out there and learn, create, and inspire.